Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Kind of really excited for this beer because it's one of my favorite beers. So if I review it and I don't like it and there's something weird with it, I'm going to be super disappointed because I just want to drink it on camera. This thing, oh my god. La Petite Prince from Jester King and De La Seine, right? Bum, 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 bum. It says Farmhouse Table Beer. I'm pretty sure it says Jester King Brewery, Le Petit Prince, Farmhouse Table Beer, brewed and canned by Jester King Brewing Company, Austin, Texas. 2.9% alcohol by volume. I think this was originally a collab beer with De La Seine. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive it is. But I've never seen this in a can before. I've always seen it in bottles. Last time I had it was actually last Beer Tube at Palooza. New one's coming up soon. Less than 2 months away. Actually, yeah, less than 2 months away up in Connecticut at Steven. His place. I should post an email about that. I keep forgetting. Anyway, when we did the Albany Beer Tube Palooza, I went to Delaware Supply, which is an awesome tap room in Albany. I implore you to go there if you ever want, if you're in Albany, especially if you like they get Swords cans and hazies and stuff like that. But they also get a lot of like cool stuff. Not that stuff can't be cool too, but they had this in a bottle. First thing I grabbed when I was there, and I was just like always kind of assumed. I gotta get a light right here. Everything here is dark. Look, if I put the can over here, it like looks better. I'll fix it anyway. I've always kind of assumed I just would never get it wherever I was. Well, hold on, I went to like a bottle shop today looking for something completely different. I'm like, what? Why is this here? Why is it in a can? I'm not asking questions. We're going to review it. So it's Jester King. It's La Petite Prince Farmhouse Table Beer. Like I said, it's 2.9%. It's a farmhouse ale. And it says it was packaged on 4/26/23. It's almost exactly 3 months ago. I'm cool with that. Should have no problem with that date on there. I got a 4-pack. Not only I get a 4-pack of this, a 4-pack for $13.99. I would buy that all day. I'd buy that for $1. Anyway, talk about having preconceived notions going into a beer review. That's this guy right here. Label-wise, it's actually pretty bad label, like art design wise, but I love it because I love the beer. But it's also kind of like one of the things that kind of really kind of plucks at my heartstrings is like old school like Trappist Belgian monkey labels that are like drawn by Brother Joseph in a monastery that drew 4 things once, and they're like, you're an artist, you can draw the label. It has that vibe going for it. You know, it has a Jester King thing where there's a bit of gold in the framing and there's a little bit of creepy doll action going on, but it's creepy and I like it. Because it's bad. Look at that. What does that look like? Looks like a grisette is kind of how it, just knee-jerk reaction kind of looks like to me. Just this bright, glowing, hazy orb of dirty liquid is kind of how it looks. Big head, because I pour awesome, but also it's in a can, and I bought it today, and it's been cooling down, and I couldn't wait. I had to review it. So, yeah, white as white can be head. That washed out kind of yellow straw-like body. Let's see if we get a nose. Even through all that foam, there is an inherent kind of terroir-y, funky thing going on here. Definitely has some kind of Brett going on. I would lean multiple strains of Brett. Probably, if this is their farmhouse table beer, this is their drinking beer. This is what I assume, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. This is what I assume is Jester King's potable water at the brewery in the most beautiful way possible. It's probably what lives in the brewery. Like, with their wild program, with their mixed firm, with their mixed culture program, this is probably, maybe I'm getting a little romantic here, but I assume this is just, they throw their beer into a tank or a foeder or whatever this goes, and this happens. That's kind of how I assume this beer kind of exists, because it has this kind of multiple level Brett kind of thing going on. It has Brett C, a little citrus, it has this little funkiness, it has a little tardiness, but nothing's over the top. A sweet graininess. I mean, it comes off way bigger than 2.9%. You're talking about a sub 3% beer here. We're getting way closer to non-alcoholic beer than sessionable, what most people call sessionable beer at this point. And it just has this vibrance to it, this very kind of tart citrus kind of vibrance going on, but also sweet. And you're almost like, it's almost like easily knee-jerky reaction to be like, well, that's kind of easy to pull. It's so hard to pull off at low ABV, man, to have this impact at balance too, with the nothing getting heavy-handed. The tart isn't too big, the sweet isn't too big, that citrus isn't too big. It's just everything here has a bit of pizzazz to it, but again, 2.9%. It's one of those things where you're like, it's kind of magic, man. I got 4 cans of this. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. I mean, and this is where beer subjectivity comes into play. I can see a lot of people not liking this. It's thin. I'm not saying it's thin. I say it's thin. It's watery. It's got a little kind of woody, cardboardy thing going on. There's a bitterness and an overt sweetness. It's not sharp. It's not overly tart. It's 2.9%. You give this to me at 4 and change, I'm a happy person. 5. There is a little bittering and a little carbonic thing going on here. They're not force carbonating this, so it's not a carbonic acid thing. It's naturally occurred. I don't remember that being here. That sharpness is something I'm not used to. It could be a can thing. Maybe they're doing something specific with the can. These that I've never seen in a can. Maybe they're doing some form of force carb on this, so it exists in the can. I highly doubt that. It's probably such a low ABV beer. It can exist in a can as a conditioned beer. But that to me is a little bit foreign, and something I'm not going to sit here and say I'm absolutely gaga about. But all my biases leaning in the positive direction of this beer, it's still really, really, really fun. There's a soft, fluttering, pithy citrus that just kind of goes throughout the whole beer. It has to be a hop combination with Petit. If it's not, I don't know what else to tell you, but that's the way it comes off for me. There's actually a really nice mouthfeel to it. It's probably one of the most impressive things about the beers that it actually has a nice kind of soft, silky kind of mouthfeel in the way that you would think of when it comes to like Farmhouse / Grisette, thinking like Phil Farmstead stuff. It has that kind of mouthfeel for it at 2.9%. There's a sweet maltiness to it. It's way bigger than what you'd expect at something like 2. It's like almost like something that's like 5 and change, but under attenuated a hair, so it adds a little bit of sweetness. But it's 2.9%, so it's still alcoholic, but it still has a touch of sweetness to it. It's just kind of like, how is this happening? Dry. It finishes dry, which is quite nice. The only caveat, again, when we circle back to that little bit of carbonic thing, that again, it's in a can. Maybe that's the reason why it's happening. I've never really got that before, and I've had this beer several times. It could be it. But it's such a small little thing. It's not going to ruin my experience. It's something to think about. Something that'll make me want to crack a beer tonight rather than wait a day or two to just see if that taste carries over. That just adds a little bittering component. And that's the thing. It's not an off flavor. It's not a negative flavor. It just adds, for me, in a not aggressive, a bitterness that goes beyond what the beer typically has. Typically what I've experienced in the past, that's a better way to put it. That is a little bit bigger than what everything else is. So, if you were to look at a waveform, See that thing over there? It's a waveform. If you look at a waveform, you get peaks and valleys, and it's kind of how this beer works, and the way the sweetness and the way the citrus and the way the yeast and the dryness, everything kind of ebbs and flows, and just that little bittering pop that I'm associating with something that is naturally occurring carbonic or whatever rises a bit bigger or dips a bit lower, whichever way you want to call it, more than everything else. So, if everything goes to 10 up and down, this goes to 12 up and down. So it's just a little subtle variance on that. That I've never experienced before in this beer. Without that, that's why I was gushing at this beer from the get. Because it is one of the I think one of the best beers ever made. I would put this beer, from what I've experienced, now this can, doesn't sully its reputation by any stretch. It's still amazing. I would buy this 4-pack again. I'm not even saying it. But the ones I've had previous to this in bottles, it is on Mount Rushmore of all beer. If I'm desert islanding, and they're like, you have Mount Rushmore, and you can go to a desert island. You have 4 beers. You got, 15-year-old, well-preserved Hardy. You know what I mean? That's number 1. But probably, or number 4 at the end, because we're going to go vertical, lower ABV. It's probably number 1 for a couple of reasons. 1, I dig it. 2, you need potable water. You're set for life. Anyway, that little thing makes it, that little carbonic thing, that little bittering, elevated thing, kind of makes it just not, I was going to say not perfect. I think that's wrong to say. I think that's a little bit too hyperbole to give any beer calling something perfect, but it's close to perfect. It just knocks it down to this instead of 99.9, it's 99.6. Instead of going from 99 to 94, that kind of thing is what I'm trying to express. But I could see, as I mentioned earlier, I could see people not digging on this. I could see people kind of drinking this going, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I understand that because it's not exploding with flavor in the way a lot of people want things to be. But as far as a drinking beer, as far as a session beer, I think you're going to be really hard-pressed to find something that's not only extremely sessionable, to the point where I can drink liters of this if I were given the opportunity to do that. Go to Jester King, sit at their beer garden or whatever, and I could drink liters of this and have a great day. Have an absolute great day, having fun with friends, laughing, eating food, doing all those kind of things. Or I could sit with a singular can of this and talk about the nuances and the levels of funness that I find in the beer flavor-wise. And that is the trick. I think that's the trick a lot of beers can't do, and very few pull off extremely well. And I've said it before, but this is probably the best example of that mantra, which is it can be the conversation. This beer can be a 15-minute video of me waxing poetic about what I love and maybe finding a little blemishes here and there and still be absolutely ecstatic about drinking it and talking about all the little ins and outs that I'm perceiving. Or I could just rip a 4-pack with friends and never talk about the beer. And I think that is just about, again, we're not going to use the word perfect here, one of the best experiences of beer you can have. The Petit Prince. Is it one of the better sub 3% beers I've ever had? It's number 1 because I think it might be minus NA beers. I don't know if I've ever had a sub. It'd still be up there. Is it one of the better session beers I've had? Yes. Is it Mount Rushmore status? Yes. But it would also be, let's put it this way. If I had the bottle that I perceive as better for me, it would be one, and this would be maybe the third face on the mountain, so it would be under choice. Value, like I said, I picked it up for $14. I'm okay with that, even with that low ABV. I mean, at that point, you just can't really talk about, it's only 2.9%, it should be $6. I'm not going to be that asshole. But at the same time, I want to say I could pick it up off the shelf, but I just found it for the first time, so I don't know if it's just a one-off kind of awesome thing. Who knows? Leave you with it if you like what we like this. If you like low ABV jams. I mean, this is Farmhouse ales. If you dig on them and you dig on low ABV jams, you're going to be extremely hard-pressed to find something that delivers both in a very, very beautiful way. Jester King, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? Have you had Le Petit Prince? More specifically, have you had the bottles and have you had the cans? If you've had, I really want your honest assessment if there is a variance for you. Especially if you know, in a perfect world now, I go out and find a bottle and I do a side-by-side. But if it's something that you can get on a reg, because I know it's not a rare beer, it's just I don't live close to Texas, so it's not something we're going to see all that often. If you've had this beer in multiple different variants, via can and bottle, I really want to know what you think. Put all that stuff down there. So there you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you're enjoying some potable, delicious water right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.